What is up, guys? Rice Vlogs back with another video. Thanks for clicking on the link and checking things out. Today I got some fun things planned for this car. We're going to be changing out the stock shifter and actually installing a short shifter today. So of course that's something that most people like to do to, a car that's manual, where you can get a lot better shifting, a little faster, more notchier, things like that. It does come with some more solid bushings and such for the shifter and everything like that.
Here we are on the trunk of the Miata, and I got the short shifter kit laid out here. As you can see, it is Cosmo Racing. This shifter was actually out of stock for a good couple months. I was keeping my eyes on it after, going on Facebook and things like that, and it was out of stock for so long. Finally, just checked one day, boom, it was in stock, so I ordered it immediately. This kit is actually a really good price for what it is. It's about $100 that's shipped and everything to the lower 48, so of course that's very nice. But as you can see, it comes with a baggie here of the bushings and whatnot for the actual shifter assembly, I believe. And then of course the short shifter. This piece here needs to be set and tightened and everything, but this is for your lockout for your reverse. A couple screws here, and it comes with this nice little decorative plate if you want to apply it to your center console or something, and of course instructions, which is nice. So looking at the inside of the car here, as you can see, we have this here center console that's going to need to be removed in order to get at the actual shifter assembly. Inside the glove box here, looks like we have 4 10mm bolts that'll need to come out, and then there really isn't any other screws or things like that that are noticeably on the outside or anything like that, so I'm gonna have to kind of see. This must kind of pop into place with some clips and things like that, but I'll have to get that shifter knob or that shift knob off, things like that, and we'll just start pulling this thing apart. So let's get right at it. Up at the front here, so it clicks into place. It's literally not held in by anything except for one screw at the bottom. So I undid the 2 screws there and dropped that plate underneath the kick plate over there, and then that's the one screw that holds it here. The rest of it, literally, you want to pull it at a forward motion, so that way the clips pull out nicely. One of them I did pull down and actually broke the little piece that it clicks into, but it'll be alright because it's held in by so much more. But yeah, so that literally all just pops forward, and then you do have the one single clip for your USB. You just push that in, pop it out. There's your USB, but this piece gets removed then. Then from there I noticed that, so I had this piece installed down in there, and it's just the release, but I pulled that right out, which I really probably didn't need to pull it right out right away either, but it came out, so that's out of the way. Obviously this just unscrewed from there. Super simple to undo a shift knob, so unscrewed that. There was this little spring piece in there that pulled apart, and that's all good to go now. Then next I noticed that I can pull apart this whole center console piece. So this was snapped down in here. Looks all complete, but it's actually very like crazy how this is all split up in different pieces. So I popped this up and everything came apart like that. As you can see, everything's kind of separating here, so we can kind of work it to separate itself, and we can work this piece forward and move it off to the side. You would actually unclip a few electrical pieces in here, but I'm just going to leave them connected because there's really no sense. And as you can see, this piece here is all separate now. We can unplug this as well, undo the traction control, and move that off to the side. Then now we have full access to the entire shift linkage down in here, and now we can actually start unbolting the shifter and getting things swapped out from here. Okay, so I actually have the entire center console removed right now. It might be a bit overkill. It's probably not fully necessary because you can get at some of this stuff while leaving it kind of in place, but really it's only a couple more bolts or clips or whatever. It's easier to just remove the whole thing. Got it in the back seat there. It's completely out of the way. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Now I have so much room to work with. I don't have to worry about, trying to get to things and then breaking something or scratching something. Now everything's out of the way and I can just work. So this is a great step to get to. So if you guys want to pause the video, get to that point, and then now you can pick up where I'm at here, where I'm going to be, removing some of this stuff, getting rid of this old shifter and everything like that. One thing I want to do quickly though is I want to measure the throw of this shifter, so going from like first to second, you know, third to fourth, fifth to sixth kind of thing, so we can see, you know, how much of a difference it is going from those gears to how it's going to be with the new one. It's not going to be the most accurate, but I'm going to try my best to get that. And then just for a sense of knowing, you know, how everything feels between shifting this and then the next one, especially once we replace those bushings down there and such. Okay guys, so I'm going to try to hold this as steady as I can. Right now we're in neutral, so I'm going to push it into third here. Have the tape measure sitting on the edge of it, as you can see. Now I'm going to throw it back into fourth here. And it hits about 4.5 inches to the back of my threads here, as I can see. So we'll use this as a guide in order to see the difference. So we went from 1 inch all the way to 4.5. So that's a pretty big throw, as you can see. Even if I throw it in first here, we're at, let's see, that one was about 5 inches first to second. That's with trying my best to, obviously I don't have the lockout anymore, so it's willing to throw it into reverse, but right about there is first to fifth. So yeah, about 5 inches. That's a huge throw. I mean, that's a huge throw. So we'll see the difference in a minute here. Let's just go fifth to sixth just for fun. So we're going at 0 to about 4.5 again. So that first to second is wild. Like, that is a huge throw. And then we're doing the other two about 4.5 inches, so a ½ inch less. But that's our base, so we know what to base the new one off of. Next I'm going to start tearing this thing apart. There is like a pin here that needs to get pounded through and removed in order to get this assembly apart, so I'm going to do that next. Okay, so first it looks like I'm going to have to remove this here black like compression piece. So, and then I need to pound this pin, which then comes out on the back side here, as you guys can see. So then once this pin slides out, then I'll be able to remove this piece here off to the side, and then I'll be able to get the rest of this assembly pulled out in order to replace this guy here, the actual shifter. So I'm going to do that right now. Not only is it going to break, I think, but it's just held on there so good. Because we are dealing with plastic as well, so it's like I don't want to ruin the plastic, of course, because I'm trying to get this in between metal and plastic. The plastic's going to give a little bit. There we go, starting to like bend. This is the biggest pain in the butt. I think it's actually, I don't know, oh, there we go. Plastic, of course, like I said, it got a little bit beat up. I mean, like I said, I was trying to separate metal from plastic. So of course, you know, it's a little bit scraped up, banged up now, but nothing too major actually. It could have been a lot worse, so I'm cool with it. It's going to be covered up later anyway, so let's just keep rolling. So now that I have that clip removed, I should, in theory, be able to remove this, which now it's actually moving, which is awesome. So now I'll get the screwdriver on here, bang this guy through. As you guys can hopefully see, it's coming out on the back side there, and there it fell through. So this is the clip that, or pin that needed to be removed through there. So once that gets removed, you can set this down. Now the shifter piece is disconnected completely, which gives the shifter a lot more freedom, because this piece isn't being held back anymore. There's a shifter linkage there.
on the bottom of this, the shifter is held in place with a little clip, one of the linkages that is. So I get the screwdriver down in there. Now that we removed that pin like I showed you guys, so first we knocked this guy out of here. This came out. That allowed this piece that has one of the shifter linkages being held in place by it and gets moved when the shifter moves. That falls down. Now this is all free, like so. Then the bottom half of this, as you guys can see down here, this piece here used to be connected to the actual shifter. This was down inside of there, and that's what would pull this right cable here. So this guy would actually get moved by the bottom half of the shifter. Now that I just had to move that clip out of the way just by spreading it apart, and proceed to removing the rest of this. So this part now hinges forward now that that pin is out of there, and this will just pull right off, as you can see. And then now we actually have full access to this part of the shifter, which it's being held on by this one little spring over here. So we just need to remove the spring, which, as you can see, that popped right out. Now it's laying over there, and now this piece will slide right out. So as you can see, this is the factory shifter piece that is now going to be replaced with the new Cosmo Racing shifter piece that will then drop right down in here as well. So as you guys can see, this one is all greasy, got some stuff all over it. This is all greasy here. Here's the little plastic piece that fits down into the shifter linkage, I mean. So this piece will now get added to our new shifter, but I'm going to grease that up as well. Unfortunately, this stuff gets all kind of nasty and gooey like that, but it's kind of necessary to make everything smooth and have good play. So just to show though, here is the actual lockout on this shifter. So this is your reverse lockout. So when you pull that collar, as you can see, this piece moves. So this is all updated compared to the plastic piece that was in the old one. And then these pieces no longer need to be used because they were part of the plastic piece in the old one, where this one now is metal and all connected already. So I'm going to kind of grease this stuff up. I'm going to get this slid on, and you need to use some Loctite on this little set screw to hold it in place on that little dimple there. But just to compare, so as you guys can see, the angle of this is a lot different, and now this ball is a lot higher than this ball. So that's going to actually create the lower portion of it to swing more and the upper portion of it to swing less, to create that shorter throw. So this is definitely an upgrade. It should drop us about an inch, I'm guessing, between throws. As you guys seen, like I said before, it's about 4.5. Now my guess is about 3.5. So we'll see how this does. I just ran to the store, guys, and I picked up some Loctite because I'm going to need that for the little set screw for the shifter selector for that shoots out the side of the shifter. And I picked up some white lithium grease just so that way, you know, if I want to grease up anything extra, I can. So next I'm going to be removing these 4 12mm bolts on the actual outside of this whole housing like this, in order to install these supplied solid bushings that will go up in the bottom of this. I think it's going to raise it slightly, but we're going to see. I'm not too sure on that yet, but we'll pull these out. Just a few bolts, real quick and easy. And as you guys can see, when I get these out of here, they are, let's see here, $12mm bolts. I pulled those out. From there you have bushings in all 4 corners, and this is what they look like. I just pulled this one out. So you have the rubber bushing here, if it's gonna focus, there we go. So you have a rubber bushing with this metal insert that sits down in there. So obviously this is good because it makes it a little more comfortable, like a little more squishy feeling for, you know, daily driving, just like regular commuter. But then what we're going to be replacing it with is this solid bushing here that's just going to make everything rigid. So it's going to be click, 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 real notchy and solid. Whereas this gives the whole shifter kind of some rubber play. So it gives it a little more of a, you know, smooth like feel, and this is going to be a lot more solid and notchy. So definitely for a performance aspect, this is going to be an upgrade compared to the more commuter style rubber bushing. So everything that I've been taking off of this car, I'm going to keep and hang on to. So all these bushings, I'll save. All the factory bolts, you know, for these, I'll save. And then that way, if I ever, for whatever reason, want to reconvert this to being stock or OEM or whatever, I have everything. So I'm saving everything in order to still use this stuff now. And if I ever want later or feel like it or need to, I have this stuff. So we'll get the rest of these all popped out. It's going to be a bit of a chore because they're a little hard to get out because you have to pop the sleeve that's on the inside out first, this metal piece. So once you get that popped out, then you have to actually sit here and push the rubber piece through in order to get it to pop out. And it just takes a minute, as you guys can see. It's not too hard, but it's not easy. So I'm gonna work on getting the rest of these popped out. So there's all the old stuff popped out and everything, ready to be stored away. This little guy popped out here, so put this back in place before I forget about it or something. Alright, so now these will just go underneath. Really easy to do. Just need to slide them up in there. They kind of click, actually, as you heard on that one. Hopefully there isn't much noise because of this. That's my only concern with this, is if it's going to be kind of noisy or something, because now you're going to have metal on metal contact. But I think we should be alright. Drop some bolts down in there. These are bolts that were supplied by Cosmo Racing. And washers as well, that was supplied by them. The instructions that they gave me with this, I have a feeling aren't actually for this car, because everything wasn't exactly the same, but it was close. So I mean, I'll give them props for at least trying. And I use the impact just to get them snug, and then I'll use the actual ratchet to get everything tightened down for sure. Because obviously using an impact, you might crack something, you might over tighten, strip something. Now in this instance, I'll just get it hand tight now with the ratchet. So I gotta go grab that quick. Once I get them tight, I don't ever usually put leverage on the outside of the handle. I just grab onto the end of it, twist it as tight as I can. This will give you, for what I've learned in the past here, roughly about 10 foot-pounds. I know it's not consistent, but it's close. Doing that, you know, you're not over tightening it, but you're giving it a good proper, you know, about 10 foot-pounds is really nice to do. So that's what that is. If anyone wants to try it, so be it. If you want to, you know, go buck wild, go ahead. Hopefully you don't break anything, but that's solid. It ain't gonna go anywhere. Say something did get loose, it would be noticeable. I'd be able to take things apart, tighten them back up. You know, if you ever try this method, you want to just give it like another snug quarter turn, but as you can tell, I tried. It was tight. I'm not gonna overdo it. Okay, so as you guys can see here, we have a little Allen set screw in the back here. This is what Cosmo Racing slipped in a little note saying make sure that you use
thread lock on this because you don't want it getting loose. Otherwise you won't be able to select gears. So we're gonna cake some good stuff on here, get it set in here, and get it tightened up in on the actual shifter, because we're to the point where we can install this now. So there's a little dimple here in the back, so we'll line that up with this guy and snug her up real good on it. Make sure it's good, that's where it needs to be, and I'll give it a good crank. Nice and tight, we'll wipe away any extra, and we're good. Loctite's going crazy in there, and now we can get this bad boy installed. So, oh, and real quick guys, I just scooped some of this grease off of this. I mean, there's a ton of it here. I did buy some lithium white grease, but I'm just going to use up some of this stuff. Might as well. So got some of that scooped up on there. We got this little plastic bushing that needs to go on. So kind of rub it around with this. And we just need to push this guy on. Just like that. Got some grease on the trunk, always good. So now that's all greased up, ready to go. And have this bad boy installed too. So as you see here, this is where the old shifter sat, and this will just drop down in there just like so, and everything's gonna have to get installed to actually have it sit in place correctly, but this is where it's gonna be, just like that. So this actually slides up in here first, because then we can install this piece that I showed you guys a minute ago. Let me wipe it quick because everything's freaking greasy too, which is annoying. But here's this guy, so that gets slid on there. Now we would install it, which I'm gonna just make sure I got a good layer of Loctite back on this, because we don't want this guy coming loose, as I mentioned earlier. So I'll just make sure to throw another little dab of Loctite on here. Get that in there. Alright. Slide it up where it needs to be and start tightening it. This is so greasy. This is the worst part about this, obviously. Everything's all frickin' greasy and just, it's messy. It really is messy. Get that nice and snug on there. Wipe away the extra again. And now this is ready to get dropped in. Reason being is, now we have this part that is supposed to get set in here like so, and now it's ready to go. Okay, so now that I have this snapped in place, I got my 2 screws up front, I got the 4 in here now. Of course, this thing is solid in place where it needs to be, and like I said guys, it's so wild how this is designed, but this whole piece here is part of your shift boot, and I just really like how they did this. Like, it literally fits so perfect, and when it's put together there's no seams or anything. I love how they design this, but now when you actually go to snap it in place, it just fits so perfectly. And before taking any of this apart, I would have never known that this was a line here and it separated it. It's designed so nicely that it looks like it's all one solid piece. So very good on Toyota's part. I mean, none of it's held together with screws, so it's all very seamless. And the clips that they used are never gonna break, it seems like. So this is a really good thing on their part. Yet again, like, just, I know everyone says, you know, back in the day, Toyota, Honda, all those, they were really reliable, and nowadays they're kind of losing their flair. But I feel like they're still very good at their engineering, you know, and just designs of things like this. It's just, I really love these cars for so many reasons, and this is one of them. So shout out to them once again for this. Now I just have this piece, as mentioned before, to snap on. Same thing, no screws or anything, just pop it back in place. Okay, so I got this spring back on, the pin slid back through, everything here is solid now. Now the shifter is actually being held in place by what it needs to be held in place by. The only thing I have left to do is get that clip back on here. So the one that I took off, obviously, this one was damaged. As you can see, it's all bent up, it cracked a little bit. Oop, dropped that. So don't need it. luckily the kit came with a new one, so we're gonna get that popped on there, and then this thing is gonna be ready to go. So get that on. I'll probably throw some grease just in some of the high movement points. This new lockout piece slides right along the plastic here. It seems pretty reasonable, but it used to be like plastic on plastic with this old one, as you can see. So this one used to be on there, plastic on plastic. Now we have metal on plastic, so I really want to grease that up good so nothing gets scratched up, you know, worn out. But then, as you can see, this lockout right now doesn't function how it's supposed to, but this top piece spins to adjust the height of this. So now, as you can see, now it's able to go into reverse. So I need to get that dialed in perfectly as well, so that way it's not scraping or anything, and then we can get our shift knob locked on here. But we will first install everything. That way everything is where it needs to be, of course. So let's get to that, and then we'll be ready to go. Alright guys, so as you can see, we have the pin back in here that originally had to get pounded out in order for all this stuff to fall to the side. There was a spring that was removed. Then that was allowed this plastic piece on top to get pulled up, and then the whole linkage came apart like that. So pin slid back in, and like I said, Cosmo Racing supplies us with a brand new clip here, so that's nice of them. And what the instructions say to do is, I took this 12mm socket over here, and it fits right around the ring like that, and you smack it once good with a hammer. Maybe give her a couple taps after to make sure, but it'll compress it right on there, just as you would wish it to be. So just like that, as you can see, it's on there tight now. And that's what I was talking about, how the plastic is all kind of banged up and stuff from trying to get the old one off, but it's nothing major. This is now on here good and tight. That won't come off at all. And then we threw some white grease down in there. Some down in the bushing down there, like I mentioned. Just kind of lathered some stuff up. Threw some on the side here, as you can see as well. So yeah, I'm going to throw a little bit on the side of this because, like I said, when going into first, this piece pushes up against it like so, first and second. And then when being in neutral, going into reverse, this is needed to be adjusted like so, where you can loosen this up to raise this higher. And then that's how you can get that reverse lockout to work. So this just needs to be adjusted in order for this to be in the correct height. But anyway, I want to throw some grease up in here, really lather it up good, because this is going to be used, you know, first and second is used quite a bit. So you want to have some good lubrication in there, because I don't want this wearing away because of the metal on plastic there. It used to be, like I said, this plastic piece in there. That was then just plastic on plastic, so really not much concern there. But now that we have metal in there, I want to make it nice. So gonna get some lube on that, and then we'll be right back with putting everything back together in here. Center console, shift boot, all that stuff. Real quickly guys, so I want to show the comparison. So as you've seen before, we were starting in, this here is neutral, as you can see. We were starting in our 0 position in third, and when we threw it back, we were ending up about here in the 4.5. So now let's try this. Holy crap. It ended right there at 3, as you guys can see. So from front to back, we're looking at about 3 inches. So that's 1.5 inches less. In first to second, we were sitting at about, what was it, 5 inches, I believe. So now we're sitting here at 0 in first, and straight back we're at 3.5 to 3.25. So that again is like another inch, maybe 1.5 inch difference there. So that is a lot closer, as you guys can see. Yeah, 3.5. And then one last time we'll go fifth, hook it there, and we're going 3.5 again. So fifth to sixth, 3.5. So that is a huge difference. We're making about 1 inch less of travel. So it's just that much quicker. And it's hard to tell right now because I'm not in the driver's seat or anything, but I can already tell though. This thing is a lot more notchier. more responsive. There's a lot less play here, and that's awesome. So I couldn't be any happier with this so far. Let's get everything buttoned up, like I said, with the center console, shift boot, everything back in here, and then maybe we'll take it for a test drive and see how this thing really performs out on the road. But that's awesome. That is way better than I expected, so let's get it. Okay, so I just slid in this part of the center console here. It just kind of is sitting in here right now. I just want to show you guys like how much this actually comes apart. So I mean, this is even useful if anybody's trying to like really clean this stuff, maybe get it wrapped, you know, whatever they're trying to do. But in order to get this entire assembly out, you have to pop out these cup holders so you can get to the auxiliary plug here and the fast charger plug right there, as you can see inside the glove box. One thing to note, guys, this is for the SE, so I'm not sure about the XSE. Some of the plugs might be different, but I'm sure most of this stuff is the same. One thing here is the plug right there that needs to get plugged into the cup holders for your e-brake and hold. But anyway, this guy gets set right here, and it literally just clicks in place. So everything just kind of pushes down and pops. You don't get a lot of like audible clicking there, as you can see, but very simple. Just push everything down and make sure it's clicked in good. Make sure that closes how it should. And then, like I said, this one electrical connection under here just needs to get plugged in now that you have it in place. I'm working on that right now, and there it goes. So now once you have this kind of sitting where it needs to, you can get the 2 screws in place up in the front here again, get these 4 back in place down in here. That way this won't move on you anymore, and then you can work on getting the shift boot back on and this little cubby piece back on. So I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, so now that I have this snapped in place, I got my 2 screws up front, I got the 4 in here. Now of course this thing is solid in place where it needs to be, and like I said, guys, it's so wild how this is designed, but this whole piece here is part of your shift boot, and I just really like how they did this. Like, it literally fits so perfect, and when it's put together, there's no seams or anything. I love how they designed this, but now when you actually go to snap it in place, it just fits so perfectly. And before taking any of this apart, I would have never known that this was a line here and it separated it. It's designed so nicely that it looks like it's all one solid piece. So very good on Toyota's part. I mean, none of it's held together with screws, so it's all very seamless, and the clips that they used are never gonna break, it seems like. So this is a really good thing on their part. Yet again, like, just, I know everyone says, you know, back in the day, Toyota, Honda, all those, they were really reliable, and nowadays they're kind of losing their flair, but I feel like they're still very good at their engineering, you know, and just designs of things like this. It's just, I really love these cars for so many reasons, and this is one of them. So shout out to them once again for this. Now I just have this piece, as mentioned before, to snap on. Same thing, no screws or anything, just pop it back in place. Alright guys, so I got everything buttoned back up. We have the glove box back in, we have this little kick plate here, kick plate down there back in, all the center consoles back together, shifter's good to go. I did end up using the OEM shift knob, which is a plus to this. You can have that option to use this one, or obviously when you want to upgrade to different shift knobs, you can also get those and slap them on here. The reason why I wanted to use the OEM one, for one, it's leather and everything, so it won't get hot in the summer and stuff, unlike the metal one that would have came with it. But also, this piece that needed to get adjusted for the stop for the lockout for reverse, it's easier to tighten up with this shift knob versus the other one, because the other one, they would just cinch together and then they would loosen or tighten together, and you'd have to like hold it tight, get a lock or a channel locks on there or something. I just didn't want to mess with it. This one, you can actually loosen it a little bit, get this where it needs to be, and then tighten this up on it, and then it kind of locks it all together because you're compressing that plastic tight to this metal or whatever. So that was kind of nice. Now I have the reverse lockout where it needs to be, so reverse is working. The only downside to this is the shift boot is so tall. and it was actually made for, you know, that much taller shift knob that used to be here. So now I have to kind of bunch it up like how I have it right now, where it dips down a little bit on the outsides, comes up, and then dips down again. Because otherwise, if you pack it all in there, the reverse actually gets caught on it, because right here is where that reverse piece is. So it's not far down there, so when you're actually using this, like I said there, it was able to move over and get in reverse. But if this was all packed down in the way, it kind of gets caught on it, stuff like that. So anyway, I might get a different shift boot in the future here, just to kind of clean this up, make it look nicer, have something that'll last a little longer. But yeah, I can just tell by sitting here in the cockpit, you know, rowing gears, that this is a lot better. It throws a lot shorter. Like I said before, I would have been like way forward, way back, so this is a lot better, and it's so much notchier now too. I can just tell like I'm really slamming it into gears now, unlike before it was a lot more sloppy feeling. So this is definitely an upgrade. Like I said, guys, $100. I would definitely look into it for anybody wanting that little bit more of a sporty feel and edge for this car. So that's about it, guys. I'm gonna close this video out, so let's get it.
Alright guys, yet again, thank you for checking out this video. I really hope you guys liked it. I gotta hurry up and close this out because it's starting to rain. But then again, that was the Cosmo Racing short shifter, and it is definitely a huge upgrade from the factory shifter. One thing I want to point out is I, of course, was still trying to learn and figure it out as I was going, so I'm sorry if the video was kind of chopped up or not the best, you know, cut forward, or I couldn't really figure out where to set up the camera for the best angle because there's so many different angles. But I really hope you guys appreciate it, and let me know down in the comment section what I can work on that you noticed or anything that I might have missed. If you have questions, I will answer them. Thank you guys. Make sure to drop a like if you like this video, and there's definitely more coming for this car. Like I said, in the next week or two, maybe 3, we got different things coming in the mail that is going to really change the look and the feel and the performance of this car. So I have so much planned, and I hope you guys are enjoying everything about this, and I want to thank you guys so much, and we'll see you at the next. Peace.